Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Who wants to go to Mars? Not me, not really. I kind of like it here on Earth, to be honest. But it's exciting. The prospect of going to Mars, and Elon Musk has announced a timeline to do just that. 2 years. In 2 years from now, he says, we should have unmanned rockets up there, and if that's successful, within 4 years, human beings could actually be up there on that planet, the red planet. We'll dig into that a little bit tonight. We'll also talk about home invasions in Markham, Ontario, which is part of the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. We will give you a bit of an update on what's going on with the war between Russia and Ukraine, the conflict in Gaza. We will talk about debate preps as well, as the world braces for the first debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Tuesday. Mark your calendars. It's going to be a big night. Are you ready? I hope so. We'll get into all of that and more, and we'll go to the phones tonight as well. So if you're inclined to call in and participate and exercise your right to free speech, you're in the right place. You can do that tonight. We'll take at least one, maybe more phone calls tonight here on the Maverick News Channel, where we have the antivirus program for your minds.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight for freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from, but there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech, free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Something cool and yet weird about watching videos like that, shorts on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube, the way they flip around, repeat like that. I don't know. Is it weird to want to go to Mars? It's not really humanoid friendly, you know. The atmosphere is not breathable. It's very, very hostile. And yet, Elon Musk is viewed by many as a visionary who has now laid out an ambitious timeline for humanity's next giant leap, a trip to Mars. Now, I think it is exciting, but me personally, I think I'd prefer just to stay right here on Earth, where I can just walk outside, breathe the air. So Musk, speaking at SpaceX's Starbase facility in South Texas, has shared his latest vision for colonizing Mars, emphasizing the urgency of making making life multiplanetary, let's put it that way. According to posts circulating on X, Musk outlined a plan that could see the first uncrewed starships launching towards Mars within the next 2 years, targeting the upcoming Earth-Mars transfer window. The initial phase aims to test the reliability of landing on the Martian surface. Here, let's bring up the man himself. Here's Mr. Musk. Are you ready? He is almost.
I do think what this heralds really is fundamentally a new era in spaceflight, a new era in space exploration. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to have a base on the moon. We're going to send people to Mars, and make life multiplanetary. And I think this day heralds a new age of space exploration.
Okay, let's bring the audio down because we do not own the rights to that music. We do not own the rights to that music. I hear people say that all the time on social media, and I don't know if it gets you out of the copyright jail or not, but this is the vision, folks. On Friday night, we ran Rocket Ship XM vintage movie and as the feature film for Maverick Midnight Matinee. Timely, relevant given what we're talking about tonight. Very cool stuff. This is, people will look back on this time and say, what an exciting time it would have been to be alive in 2024 because of all of this. And yet, I find that people take this stuff for granted. And in Rocket Ship XM, that vintage film from 1958, we saw rockets re-entering, and the idea was to land on their tail, right? Just like that. Well, during the original space race back in the 60s and 70s, that technology did not exist, those capabilities, and yet Musk has achieved that. That's what they do, to reuse those rockets. So what do you guys think? Look in the chat. Is this doable? Because if these uncrewed missions prove successful, Musk has set his sights on sending crewed missions to Mars in just 2 years after that. So that means 4 years from now, there could be human beings up there on Mars. This aggressive timeline is, if realized, it would mark a historic moment in human space exploration, potentially landing the first humans on Mars within the next 4 years. Can you believe that? Maybe we'll be alive to see it if we get through these wars. So Musk's vision doesn't stop at mere exploration. He's talking about establishing, as you just heard, a permanent human presence on Mars with plans for regular flights every 2 years, reminiscent of scenes from Battlestar Galactica and what other sci-fi shows were there? Space 1999, except that was a disaster. Moonbase Alpha and the moon went out of orbit. So the ultimate goal to have 1 million people living on Mars within the next 2 decades, creating a self-sustaining civilization far from Earth. Possible? Maybe. But we're having trouble. If you listen to the climate change activists, we're having trouble just making this planet work, and it's already habitable. What are we going to do with a planet that's not habitable? I don't know. This announcement comes on the heels of SpaceX's recent successes with the Starship rocket, which has now completed its first successful return from space, showcasing the vehicle's reusability, a critical factor for making Mars missions economically viable. What do you got? Anybody in the chat want to go to Mars? Antonio, you want to go to Mars? There's Canada RV. When are women going to Venus? I think they've already been there and back. Christina, remember what happened to that vessel that went to see the Titanic? Now there's a pleasant thought. Not. And Antonio says, I think they should take that money and give it to the poor. Yeah, perhaps. Still, reaching for the stars, I'm not sure it's such a bad thing. In fact, I think in many respects it's a good thing. It shows that we do have a future. At least we believe we do. It instills pride, national pride, maybe international pride, pride in humanity. There's a degree of positivity that comes with all that, and that's very important. People need self-respect and hope. That's what space exploration provides. It also generates advances, technological advances. It stimulates the economy and productivity in roundabout ways. We all benefit indirectly from the technology that is developed from those kinds of programs. You can, I think the ballpoint pen was developed because of the space program. Because of the weightlessness in space, they came up with the friction ballpoint pen. There, I have one right here, as a matter of fact. I lost my video monitor when I did that, so I can't see anything. But here you are, the ballpoint pen. Ink stays in the cartridge, the friction on the ball. Yeah, that and Tang. Tang. The orange juice of astronauts. So what do you guys think? Going to Mars? You know, Musk has announced ambitious timelines before and has failed to meet them. In fact, I think he said that originally we were supposed to be on Mars by 2018. Didn't happen, of course. Christina says no. I assume that means no, not going to go to Mars. Even if offered a free ride. As much as I keep saying no, I don't want to go to Mars, if somebody offered me a free ride, I'd have to think about it. I just don't think it would be really that great a time. And I'm not so sure that I would enjoy living up there. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. So why go? Unless you just want to, contribute to the progress of humanity. I would say anybody that ends up going to Mars, that's a big sacrifice. Christina says, no, not even a free ride. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Stay here on Earth. Okay, what else do we have going on today? All kinds of stuff, really. Let's just quickly update. I'm not going to get too deep into any of this stuff with the wars, but here's a summary of the latest developments in the Ukraine-Russia war based on the information available over the past day. There have been reports of intense fighting, particularly around the city of Pokrovsk, with Russian forces making advancements. Street fighting has been reported in central Ukrainsk and Hernik, indicating close quarters combat as Russian forces push towards key Ukrainian-held areas. Ukraine has escalated its military operations, including striking deep into Russian territory. Ukrainian forces have hit a Russian submarine and an airfield in Crimea, according to the latest reports, alongside an ammunition warehouse in Russia's Voronezh Oblast. This reflects Ukraine's capability to strike over 1,800 kilometers now into Russian territory, showcasing a significant escalation in Ukrainian long-range attack capabilities. Russia has claimed control over several villages near Pokrovsk, suggesting a strategic push towards the key city. Moscow has also promised a tough response to Ukraine's offensive actions inside Russia, indicating a potential escalation in retaliatory measures. And civilian casualties have been reported due to the ongoing conflict, with both sides experiencing losses. Russian sources mention Ukrainian military losses, though those figures are often disputed for their accuracy. The conflict shows no signs of abating, with both sides engaging in significant military operations. Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russian territory might aim at disrupting Russian logistics and morale, while Russia's territorial gains could be part of a broader strategy to control more of eastern Ukraine. There have been mentions of Russian drones straying onto NATO soil, which could potentially internationalize the conflict further, although specifics on NATO's response or lack thereof, or the exact nature of these incidents, remain unclear. And the propaganda on both sides escalating as well. And the reports are difficult to know really what the exact situation is, what the truth is. But that appears to be sort of, that should give you the lay of the land there anyway. We should be, I think, concerned about those drones striking NATO countries. It really increases the risk of a larger conflict drawing NATO into it, because two NATO member countries say today that Russian drones violated their airspace. One reportedly flew into Romania during nighttime attacks on neighboring Ukraine, and another reportedly crashed in eastern Latvia the day before. And it isn't really clear exactly what the circumstances are surrounding these drone strikes, with both sides ramping up, as I say, the information war. Ukraine saying that Moscow struck civilian targets and port infrastructure across the Danube. And Romania's Ministry of National Defense reporting the drone strike inside its territory. It added that Bucharest had deployed F-16 warplanes to monitor its airspace and issued text alerts to residents of two eastern regions. Romania also says that investigations are underway of a potential impact zone in an uninhabited area along the Romanian-Ukrainian border. No immediate reports of casualties or damage. All of this has a lot of people very, very worried about a possible escalation and, the ongoing talk about a possible nuclear conflict. And I think we are so close to that. We really need to take note. But we're still here, at least for now. Over the past 24 hours, the Gaza conflict has seen a continuation of intense military actions and significant humanitarian concerns. Reports indicate that Israeli strikes have resulted in the deaths of at least 33 Palestinians, with 145 others wounded across Gaza. This adds to the already dire situation with the overall death toll in Gaza now exceeding 24,000 since the conflict escalated. The Israeli military has targeted homes and other civilian areas, notably in Khan Yunis and other parts of Gaza, leading to widespread destruction and displacement. There have been significant protests in Israel, with around 750,000 people demonstrating against the government's handling of the conflict, particularly against Prime Minister Netanyahu. Internationally, there's growing concern over the humanitarian crisis, with the UN and various agencies calling for an increase in aid and safer conditions for aid delivery amidst the ongoing bombardment. There's mention of a potential ceasefire or hostage deal, with the U.S. reportedly working on a new proposal, though skepticism remains high among Israeli officials regarding its feasibility. The conflict has led to what some are calling a starvation campaign, highlighting the severe shortages of food, water, and medical supplies, exacerbating the already desperate conditions for civilians in Gaza. You may recall the U.S. set up that pier to offload shipments of aid from ships. It was up for a short time, millions of dollars spent setting it up, and it was dismantled. And it was interesting, I found too, I would say that U.S. initiative, spearheaded by Joe Biden, was, in my view, not just short-lived, but pretty much amounted to a failure. I think it was window dressing, honestly. This is me editorializing. But it was also interesting to note that when that pier was being assembled, people on the, I would say the anti-Israel side, the pro-Hamas side, were saying that it was an effort for the U.S. to get a toehold in there to accelerate their attempt at a land grab and resource grab in the area and further occupy Gaza. No, 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 that was a temporary pier. They had a whole bunch of money spent on it. It was a response to public pressure to make sure aid was getting into Gaza when there were political reasons for it not getting in, and that pier was that was pure politics. That's what that was. There was nothing permanent about it. It was barely functional, I think, when it was even functional. Okay, now, we also have this situation in Markham, Ontario, with a series of home invasions. What can I tell you about these? Well, we do have video here. One moment, please. Here we go. York Regional Police are investigating another home invasion in Markham, caught on video surveillance. And I do apologize, we were not here last night. We had some challenges, and things just didn't work out. We didn't have a program last night. So this is a story that I just haven't touched on yet, but several suspects were seen forcing their way into a home early Thursday morning in Markham. The incident took place around 3 a.m. in the Bridal Walk and Castlemore Avenue area. According to police, 3 suspects armed with a hammer broke into the residence and demanded vehicle keys from the homeowner, while a 4th suspect waited in a getaway car. And remember the big story that broke when the public relations officer, community relations officer, said that people should leave there. I think it was the Toronto Police Service, indicated you just leave your keys by the front door, and that way when people break into your house, that you'll be safe because the thieves won't have to go looking for your car keys to steal your car. And the outrage that generated, well, surveillance footage now shows these suspects driving to and from the home several times before committing the crime. Suspects made off with a white 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS SUV, Ontario license plate DDPW030. 2 of the suspects fled in the stolen vehicle, while the others escaped in a dark-colored 4-door sedan. Here is footage released by police of this crime. Canada is not in a good place when it comes to home invasions and car thefts. Here's the security footage. I drove by several times, as police say. There's your suspect. Not working alone. Somebody's got a driver. He's getting in the back. Four adults, two children were inside the home at the time of this crime. Fortunately, nobody was injured. Investigators believe this was a targeted incident and are urging anyone with information to come forward. Just your friendly neighborhood home invaders. Oh, man. In they go, and away they go. There you are. So, anyone with information is being asked to contact the York Regional Police Hold-Up Unit at 1-866-876-5423, extension 6630, or call Crime Stoppers in Canada, in Ontario, at 1-800-222-TIPS. You can leave an anonymous tip online. And there have been a series of these kinds of incidents in the GTA. A lot of people worried and concerned about it. A lot of people concerned about car theft. The federal government recently announced a program to crack down on car theft. Here's Harjit Sajjan talking about just that on behalf of Canada's federal government. Here he is.
So you probably heard that auto theft is on the rise. Now, as a former police officer, I know how complex these crimes can be.
Police have arrested the suspects in what they're calling a, quote, prolific auto theft group.
Nationally in Ontario,
there was one day in York region where 37 cars were stolen in one night.
Auto theft isn't just about stealing cars. It's tied to organized crime, violence, and money laundering. And that's why we're taking concrete action. We recently purchased and deployed a new X-ray scanner to detect stolen vehicles at our borders. We've introduced a national action plan on combating auto theft, which includes legislative changes, tougher penalties, enhanced intelligence, and leveraging cutting-edge technologies. Now, it doesn't stop there. We've invested millions to support local police officers and the Canada Border Services Agency. Now, already we've intercepted over 1,300 stolen vehicles just this year.
We have a detailed action plan, specific things we can do to make sure that police forces are working together with the Border Services Agency.
Great to see CBSA, so the fact that they have resources allocated and the stolen vehicles are seen as a priority is significant. And I'm cautiously optimistic. It's a 6-month trend, so the goal will be to see that continually to decline.
Now let's talk about Pierre Poilievre's approach. Now, he claims to be tough on crime, but the last time his party was in government, they cut thousands of jobs from the CBSA. If they stayed in government, they were going to cut 400 more.
They gutted funding for CBSA. They gutted funding for provincial and territorial local polices.
If we cut back important initiatives like CBSA, we are not going to be able to combat these auto thefts.
Now, as a former police officer who worked in gang squad, I know getting resources to frontline police officers will disrupt organized crime and also auto theft.
You think of Project Vector, Project Volcano, that is actually resulting in, criminals behind bars, that is resulting in stolen vehicles being recovered. Ultimately, it is about public safety.
I know that many of you watching, like me and my parents, immigrated to Canada looking for safety and a better future for our children. That's why we're doing this. Only together we can ensure fairness for every generation.
So it's Pierre Poilievre's fault and the Conservatives? Poilievre was never prime minister. Poilievre has been part of the Conservative Party for years. But Justin Trudeau's been in power with the Liberals, backed up by the NDP for, since when was he first elected? Well, 8 years, right? At least 8 years. I don't know, folks. I smell an election just around the corner. Yep, definitely. Definitely election season. And that supply and confidence deal between the NDP and the Liberals has fallen apart. The NDP no longer propping up Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. That means the next major piece of legislation to face scrutiny and a vote in the House of Commons could lead to a confidence vote, which could lead to an election months earlier than the Constitution requires in 2025. We could be going to the polls pretty soon. And I know a lot of people are hoping for that. The winds of change seem to be blowing. You can feel it in the air. Even as I was out walking today in the fall air, it was not just the smell of northern oxygen. It was something else. It's the winds of change. Stay with me. We'll be right back.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV,
the entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
That's it. That's it.
The beat goes on and I'm so
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
China has formally requested consultations with Canada at the World Trade Organization regarding new tariffs imposed by Canada on Chinese electric vehicles, steel, and aluminum products. The request was submitted on September 6th, with China accusing Canada of violating WTO rules and commitments by proposing tariffs as high as 100% on electric vehicles and 25% on steel and aluminum. China's Commerce Ministry urged Canada to comply with WTO regulations and correct what it described as wrongful actions. This move comes after Canada's decision, announced in August, to impose a 100% surtax on all Chinese-made electric vehicles, set to take effect on October 1st. Tariffs will apply to a wide range of vehicles, including electric and hybrid cars, trucks, buses, and delivery vans. The Canadian government justifies the tariffs as necessary to compete with China's heavily subsidized electric vehicle industry, where production standards differ significantly from those in the West. Imports of Chinese-made automobiles to Canada have surged with a 460% increase year over year, largely driven by shipments of Tesla vehicles manufactured in Shanghai. Similar tariffs have also been introduced by other nations, including the United States and the European Union, citing concerns about market competition. The U.S. recently quadrupled its tariffs on Chinese EVs, while the EU has tariffs ranging up to 36%, depending on the manufacturer. In response to Canada's actions, China has announced plans to initiate an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola and some chemical products, further escalating trade tensions. More than half of Canada's canola production is exported to China, a critical market for the industry. A previous trade dispute 5 years ago led to significant losses for the Canadian canola sector. As these tariff battles continue, Canada's relationship with China faces increasing strain, with potential repercussions for both countries and their industries. Now, I'm ready to take some phone calls if anyone is so inclined. If you'd like to exercise your right to free speech, you can do so by calling in. Let me get the banner up here. I think we have it. Oh, I have to go over here. Yeah, if you would like to call in, the number is right there on the bottom of the screen at 1-519-401-1373. 1-519-401-1373. You can also support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com or maverickdonations.com. Maverickdonations.com takes you to the Give, Send, Go donation page. Freedom Reporters takes you to the PayPal link, which is where most people donate. Now, if you do donate $45 or more, we now have these back in, these polo shirts with the embroidered Maverick logo. They're actually quite nice. High quality material, not junk. These are good ones. And yeah, 45, I think it was 45 or more. We'll cover the cost on those. And we also have these embroidered hoodies in stock too. Here they are. And again, not like screen printed. We still have some of those too, but these ones are embroidered, these hoodies. So embroidered logos, they're really quite nice. And $60 or more, I think, should do that. I hope I'm getting the dollars right, otherwise we're going to end up in the poorhouse. Oh, too late, already there. That's okay. I'm sure everybody can relate given the high cost of living these days and inflation. But as I say, election time just around the corner, and if you'd like to talk about that or other things, you can call in at 1-519-401-1373. And please like, share, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed over on YouTube, please consider doing that. It would help us out a great deal. I know that only a small percentage of the people who watch regularly actually are subscribers. It doesn't cost anything. And if you hit that notification bell on YouTube, you'll find out every time we publish a new video, which is pretty much every night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live. 10 p.m. on Fridays, we have Maverick Midnight Matinee. And we're also over on Rumble. So please consider subscribing over on our Rumble channels. A link to the main Rumble channel is in the description on YouTube and other social media platforms. So you can easily find us on Rumble just by using that link. And we prefer, actually, that people watch us over there because of the censorship on other social media platforms. But we are growing and expanding, and our audience is on the rise on other platforms like BitChute and Twitch and Twitter and Odyssey. So we're fighting back after the social media tech giants have, like so many others, tried to crush us. It's not easy surviving in today's information atmosphere. So let's run a little promo here. If you'd like to call in, you can do so at this number. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, so our friend Dragon is on the line, first caller of the night. What are you thinking, sir? Are you going to Mars? Are you signing up?
Dragon doesn't own space at all. This is not my environment at all. So no, I'm not going to space. Even if you get me that ticket free, just free of charge, I'm not even going to think about it once.
Yeah, I'm inclined to stay here too. Yeah, got a little bit of feedback there. You might want to turn your audio down on your computer, Dragon, so we don't get the feedback.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's better. Antonio says if they can control war from space, that will give someone a great deal of power. Yeah, that's very true, but that's what Space Force is all about. It's a prelude of things to come.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I kind of set the stage there with that question, but was there something else you were calling in specifically to talk about tonight?
Yeah, actually, well, I think you are right. It's smelling pretty much an election that is coming. I think that we might see a change of leadership in our country, and I will invite everyone to vote, do their due diligence, and express your freedom of speech by getting on that voting polls.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, well, like I say, the winds of change seem to be blowing, but never count those liberals out. They have a powerful machine behind them, and they usually have some sort of a trick up their sleeve, So I don't know. Like they're low in the polls right now. We would have a massive conservative government. If there was an election held today, it would be a landslide according to the polling, like massive, maybe the biggest landslide in Canadian history based on the polls. But I don't know, those slippery liberals, they've got their tricks,
That's what I'm feeling. I mean, by looking at the polls, by looking at people pulse, if you will, by just looking at the comments on most of the medias or social media things, I mean, people are just fed up with the liberal government. So I think, like you said, it's going to be probably like the biggest landslide that we have ever seen. And I hope it will be, because it will, I think, prove something to the liberal. And the way that they were acting for the last 9 years now, it's not it's not the way we should. So yeah, they have screwed up big time, and yeah, it's time for a change.
Well, there's the polling, the 338 Canada federal projections. If an election happened right now, the Conservatives would far exceed the required 172 seats to form a majority government. They'd get 212 out of 338. The Liberals only 77. Bloc Québécois, not even a national party, 36. The New Democratic Party, which has been propping up the Liberals, would be elected to just 16, and the Greens would walk away with 2. Just 2. Still, the People's Party of Canada not registering at all in the polling. So I don't know where they're going to end up. They've got a plan, but I don't know if the voters are ready for them yet.
And see, that's the thing with Jagmeet Singh, that went basically taking themselves out of the Liberal Party as a team, if you will. Well, their teamship. I mean, you just have cut one leg of the Liberal Party right there by the NPD taking themselves away from the Liberal Party. So I think that you got a sort of a human being limping on one leg now. This is what happened with you got the Liberal being like one part of a human being, one leg, but the leg that's still on the floor, well, it's bleeding and it's gonna die there, because for NPD, I think the way they had screwed up for the last few years,
Yep.
Well, you kind of just kind of blow yourself up by shooting yourself in the foot, kind of thing. But
Yeah,
at the
well,
same time, it's probably for the best of the country.
Yeah, well, Trudeau. I don't know what is going on, but something's just not functioning properly. As you know, we had major freezing that was taking place the other night. Must have been CTV. I don't know who, I can't recall who did it, but they were looking at, Trudeau and talking about his, his decline in the polls, and it's significant. And when the mainstream media, which is being basically paid off, they're bought and paid for by the Trudeau Liberals, when they're here it is here, I found it. I'll bring it up on the screen for you. When they're hitting on him, like hammering away on him like this, he's in trouble. Because he can't even buy their support now. The rise and fall of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's political fortunes. And we already, know basically what the history is here. But there he was in 2013, became leader of the Liberal Party. Just a youngster. Then in 2015, first elected. And yet there they are tonight, blaming the car theft problem on the Conservatives. He's been in power since 2015. It's 2024. Don't tell me you haven't had time to fix these problems. Found guilty of a conflict of interest in 2017, but he was covered in Teflon. Nothing stuck to the guy. Then in February 2019, the SNC-Lavalin scandal erupted. That resulted in the controversy with Jody Wilson-Raybould, the Justice Minister of the time, because it looked like he was trying to influence her, and yet even that didn't stick to him. Not in a significant way. He survived that scandal. There was the blackface scandal in 2019, and then the government reduced to minority in 2019. Finance minister resigned in 2020. Some people looking to Bill Morneau as a possible replacement for Trudeau as leader of the party at some point. 2021, yeah, failed to win back in a minority government again. And here we sit.
It's scandal and bad press after bad press every day for Justin Trudeau since 2019.
Yep.
Everything's coming back daily, basically about things that, for example, a few weeks ago we still hear about NC-Lavalin stuff. It keeps coming back on the burner. So oh yeah, this guy is broken, and I'm sorry to say, Justin Trudeau, but you gotta go.
And what's notable is what's missing in that timeline: the Freedom Convoy, which marked, I would say, a pivotal moment in the history of the country, a pivotal moment in the history or the timeline of his career. I said at the time, and I think many people were also of the same thinking, or they were like-minded on this, Trudeau had an opportunity during the Freedom Convoy to bring people together. He could have, at the worst time, I think, in Canadian history, in terms of morale and unity as a nation, he could have come out and he could have tried to smooth things over. He could have spoken to the protesters, but he didn't. Instead, he called them names. He criticized them. He ridiculed them. He insulted them. He treated them like enemies of the state. That's why today I sit here and still maintain that he has been and continues to be the worst prime minister in Canadian history. Look at the state of the country, Dragon. What do you think?
I think the same. I mean, as a leader, his job, and sorry to say this way, but as a public servant and a representative of the public, he should have probably have sat down with the protester and speak with them and, try to get along to an agreement at some point, which he didn't. The only thing he was saying was along the way that I don't have nothing to tell you guys, or thing like, just go home, peasant, and leave me alone, kind of thing. So, I mean, this is not a leader. You don't lead this way, right? You should be able to, I mean, as a democratic country, we should be able to look each other in the eyes and say things that we shouldn't probably, but say things the way it is and get to an agreement in some point. So, yeah, this is not what Trudeau is doing.
That's why we need an election sooner rather than later. He has left the country divided. People are angry, scared, afraid of what's happening with the economy. People are stressed out because of the cost of living. We're seeing tent cities pop up just about everywhere. And it's a terrible situation. So we need to let off some of the pressure, and the best way to do that, in my view, is to go to the polls, give the people a voice again, and let them kind of reboot things by voting.
And I mean, not only 10 cities coming back, it's you got crime on the rise. For example, home invasion. It's not something that we hear much, or that is blatant, or I mean, it happened once in a while, but it's really frequently happening now. It's something that is on the rise, and I think it's kind of scary.
It is indeed.
And also, you got the Jewish people in Ontario. I think that is doing some vigilantes also. I mean, no offense. I'm all good for probably public servant police that could probably help police force in certain matters. But in a way, I mean, if I go out with a weapon and
what are you referring to? I don't.
Fighter like Batman.
I haven't heard about. I don't think I've heard about this story. What are you talking about?
Supposedly that there's some kind of Jewish force that is. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up because I did look it up yesterday, and to be quite honest, it's one of the guys that probably listened to us sometime that did told me about it, and I've seen that also on a YouTuber. I'm not gonna call his name.
What city are we talking about here? Where is this happening?
It's Ontario, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it like a community watch program? Neighborhood watch?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have neighborhood watch programs.
But they're doing mostly now. It's like in the campus and stuff. Megan Erut, Canada.
Where?
So basically, okay. So recently, a group called Megan Erut Canada has formed a safety patrol to protect Jewish students at University of Toronto.
Okay.
And they have a logo on their or a badge on their suit, a G and an F next to it. So basically, it's like Jewish force, which is kind of it's kind of weird. Now
Patrol
we have
teams.
vigilantes on the street.
Oh, so this is it's a new story from the looks of it. Okay. I haven't heard of this before. Let's see what this is about. I found it here. if it'll open, given this computer. Yeah, surveillance team, okay. Newly formed safety patrol teams. They've joined Jewish students at U of T, downtown campus. They were there during a student-led pro-Palestine march September 6th. As more than 100 pro-Palestine protesters marched through the St. George campus, there was a team of volunteers called Megan Harrod Canada. So the word is that they're saying they're there to maintain as much order as we can and make sure the Jewish community is safe, said Aaron Hadida, the founder of Megan Harrod Canada. They've got t-shirts that say surveillance team on the back. About 150 pro-Palestine protesters, according to this report, faced a police blockade around 1 p.m. that day. They were chanting and shouting while about 20 pro-Israeli counter-protesters stood behind a metal barricade, raising images of hostages and waving Israeli flags. So, yeah, I got to look into this more. I'd like to speak to this guy, find out exactly what it's about. I mean, on the one hand, there's nothing wrong at all with neighborhood watch programs. Usually they work in conjunction or in hand with police to keep neighborhoods safe. But I'm not sure exactly what this is. The team provides, it says here, event security, safety assessment, neighborhood patrols, and private investigations. Let's go take a look at their website. What's this thing called again? There's another.
It's called Megan Harrod.
Megan Harrod Canada. Okay. I'm going to open up their website and see what they have to say here. Where's the... Yeah, they're getting a lot of pushback, of course. I don't see the website here. Not readily available to me. I don't know what to make of it, Dragon, myself. I need to look at it more closely to find out more about who these guys are and what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's never good to see people sort of taking the law into their own hands, but you're allowed to hire private bodyguards, have private security. Factories have private security guards to make sure their property is safe at night, or during off hours and things like that. So anybody's allowed to hire a security company. I don't know where this goes or what this ultimately is about. So I'll have to look into it more.
I wouldn't think that from what I've seen, and I wouldn't say from who's the YouTuber, pretty creditable, if I can put it this way. But normally what he said is that, well, all they are doing is, watching, making sure that everything is fine and there's no violence around or,
I get that people are scared, right? So this is a response to that on at least some level, obviously, but how it's being done is important, and I don't know, because this is honestly the first I've really become aware of this in a big way. I know I've heard about other efforts like this in some communities like it, but yeah, I need to learn more about this before I comment any further on it, because I just don't know. There might be some positive aspects to it. There might be something bad about it. I'm not sure. I already see some accusations there of them being far right extremists. So I'm not sure that but I'm not making any judgment or assessment here until I find out more.
Right.
And even then, I'm not sure. So, yeah. Anyway, sir, I think we're going to sign off because I'm going to prepare to take another call here. And I thank you very much for calling in. Is there anything else pressing that you needed to draw our attention to tonight? That was very helpful. I appreciate you highlighting that story so we can look into it more and learn more about it.
Well, I'm looking into what's going on in Montreal these days, and I think that the pro-Palestinians are back where they were. I mean, in the campus back again. So I have to look into that in a few days coming. And yeah, I got some tour to come, so we'll see. See what's going on, and you know, there's probably something new that is going to be on the shelf for the Mavericks. So
All right,
let's
cool.
see.
All right, Dragon calling from Montreal tonight. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you again. Stay safe out there.
Good night.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, John Rimby joins us live from Alberta. Hello, sir. How are you tonight?
Well, Good evening, Sir Rick and Maverick News family worldwide. Apologize, I'm in a train station, but hopefully the noise isn't too bad. Shout out, Rick, to our Western Canadian grain farmers who are in full harvest mode at the moment. Hopefully they're safe around the equipment and they have a bountiful harvest.
It's that time of year. Moving into the fall.
We sure underrate our farmers that put food on our shelves. So God bless them and pray for a good harvest.
Yes, sir. Thank a farmer if you ate today. And don't forget to point your finger at Justin Trudeau if you can't afford to buy the food. Because the prices are off the charts. What do you think of this failure of the disillusion of the NDP Liberal Supply and Confidence Agreement? No longer propping up the Liberals. NDP calling it quits. What do you think?
Well, I guess, Rick, I don't know, maybe from a Western Canadian perspective, I mean, I think it's, it's long overdue. I think it's more grandstanding than anything and propaganda from Jagmeet Singh. I know that he's not very popular, according to my information, in his own riding in Vancouver. And let's keep our fingers crossed and pray for an early election, hopefully December of 2024 in Canada.
Yeah, do you think we're going to get an election this fall?
Oh, Rick, I don't know. I guess it's anybody's game, eh? I mean, I think a lot of people in Western Canada are praying for an early election. Whether we're going to get it or not, I don't know. I don't know. What are your feelings down Ontario way?
Well, from where I sit, I think that it's a real possibility. I think the people are ready for it. I think the NDP is now ready for it. I think that the Conservatives are going to push because it's in their best interest to get to the polls as soon as possible because they're so far out in front. For Trudeau, if he can hang on, he'll try to avoid it. But even for the NDP, it's in their best interest at this point to get to the polls because Trudeau is damaged goods. They can capitalize on that. They can capitalize on all of the chaos, the turmoil that comes with that U.S. election around the same time. So if they have an election here in Canada, maybe a week or two before or after the U.S. election, all the parties could spin that, use that, all the controversy over all the issues, conflate them into Canada as political parties here so often do, and try to ride a wave of something to victory in their minds anyway, as part of their strategy. I think it's in the best interests of the Liberals to latch on to the commotion and the chaos that's going to be coming in an amplified way in the U.S., starting really in a heavier way in October. Look for major shifts and protests starting next month. You always get that October surprise, and if they've got that big debate coming up on Tuesday. In fact, here, you know what? Let's roll a little clip here. This is Vivek Ramaswamy on Fox News. And Vivek is saying if Trump trounces Kamala at the debate, he says, get ready for some very strange things to happen before November. They've already sued him, he says. They prosecuted him, tried to kick him off the ballot, and swapped out his opponent. All of it, he says, could just be a preview of what's to come. Here, check out this clip of Vivek tonight.
One thing I want to caution against, Sean, is exactly what happened in June. What I expect is that Donald Trump will once again run circles around Kamala Harris, just as he did with Joe Biden in that last debate. The question is that going to be good for us in winning this election or not? Because last time around, it was the catalyst for something drastic happening afterwards, which was in that case swapping out Joe Biden as the nominee. And I think if Kamala Harris really does tank in this debate, and I think there's a decent chance that happens, I think there are strange things that could happen between now and November because the Democrats,
Whoa.
they have been playing this as, in some ways, one step ahead.
You're suggesting that we may live through another change in candidates if she didn't have a good debate?
No, I don't think it's going to be a change in the candidates. The ballots have already been printed, but I do think that we have a machine that we're up against that has demonstrated that it is going to go to great measures to defeat Donald Trump. You trace this back over the last year and a half. You've got prosecutions. You've got civil cases. You've got extrajudicial attempts to remove him from the ballot. They told us Joe Biden was definitively going to be the nominee, then negotiated for the earliest ever presidential debate in U.S. history because they knew there was a good chance Biden would underperform. Once he did, they swapped him out. I think we've got to learn from those lessons, Sean, to say that they're still going to have many more tricks up their sleeve. So the two scenarios are either Kamala Harris overperforms. I don't expect that to happen. Or what I do expect to happen is Donald Trump to seriously defeat her in this debate as he did last time around. But don't expect that to be the end of this election. I think there'll be more tricks left up their sleeve.
That was Vivek. So he's just saying that the Democrats and the Harris campaign, they're going to pull out all the stops, basically, to try to prevent Trump from getting back into the White House. What do you think? Do you have any comments on what's going to likely happen on Tuesday, John? What are any predictions or thoughts about this debate coming up on Tuesday between Harris and Trump?
Well, Rick, I think I like Vivek. I'm kind of a little surprised he wasn't maybe picked as Trump's vice president candidate. But the gentleman is articulate. He's scripted. He knows his points. I quite like the guy. The debate coming up on Tuesday night, I think it's going to be very interesting. They've been playing around with the rules. Mic on, mic off, no audience. I don't know about you, Rick. I don't like the no audience thing. I think an audience gives a debate a much more realistic, real feeling. People can kind of express themselves in the crowd. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. I think President Trump, Donald J., I think he'll hold his own. I think he'll do very well if he stays on script. And I think he's probably going to let Commander Kamala, Vice President Harris, probably fall on her own sword. What do you think?
I don't know what to think, honestly. I think that, well, I do. I guess I do have a few thoughts. I think she'll be fine. I think it's going to be a much tougher debate for Trump than the debate with Biden. Although, as people sit and say that the Biden debate was easy for Trump because Biden is senile, but actually that was a minefield. Because if he hadn't handled that just right, he would have come off looking like a bully, somebody beating up on a senile old man, right? And there would have been sympathy generated even for Joe Biden. So it was a difficult thing, but I think Trump handled it well at the time. How he's going to handle Kamala, I don't know. Because she's going to come out, I think, swinging. She's going to be aggressive. She's going to try to portray him as a sexist, as someone who's a bit of a bigot. Someone who's dangerous. So I don't think I think she's going to have some choice zingers in her back pocket, ready to take some real heavy duty pot shots at him. And it's going to be his toughest debate so far because she's smarter than people realize. As a lawyer, she has experience in the courtroom. She's an experienced politician and public speaker, so he's going to have his hands full with her. I wouldn't discount that at all. That being said, he has real charisma, a real personality that just sucks the oxygen out of a room and potentially even a debate. So it's going to be a scrap. That's what I see coming. Very unpredictable as a result.
But I mean, Rick, in all honesty, just take a look at her. And I'm a little bit biased because I think most of Western Canada, well, I can speak for Alberta, we're pretty well pro-Trump. because Trump will be very favorable to the oil business in Alberta. But to Commander Kamala Harris, look at her record. She's a flip-flopper. I mean, you just have to look at the lady's record. She was supposedly a czar, on guard for the United States of America on the southern border, and she did nothing. I mean, take a look at the woman's record. There's just not much of a record there to look at if you're looking at the facts, and look at the facts and not propaganda.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the entire political landscape has shifted, it's changed, it's morphed into something completely different than we've ever seen before. You're seeing
It's going to be such a close.
Yeah, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We're having on. We're back. I don't know for how long. With that being said, John, I'm going to throw it over to you for a final thought before we get kicked off the internet again for whatever reason. Go ahead, sir. Any final wrap up for us?
Well, I think you've got to look at Commander Kamala Harris's record. There is not much of a record there. She's a flip-flopper. You talk to any business person in the United States of America under the Trump presidency, and everybody did better. Seniors, young people, older people, business people, everybody did a lot better. Trump is far from perfect. I'm a little biased to Alberta bound, but I really think this election is going to be so close. I think it can go any way. I do believe in my gut you're going to see a lot of secret Trump voters come out at the 12th hour and put the X vote for Trump. I really feel that. And if Trump can secure that 200 and what's the number at 273, 278 electoral college,
I get my Canadian and U.S. mixed up.
and if he gets in the White House again, I think it's going to be very good for Canada. Very good for Canada. A final thought, just to back up on Jagmeet Singh, the NDP party. Do you not think, Rick, Jack Layton is not rolling over in the graveyard in heaven with what Jagmeet Singh has done to this NDP party? It used to be a respectable party based out of Saskatchewan, Western Canada, for the working guy.
Yeah.
And it's not. It doesn't even remotely resemble what it used to be. But this election season, I think it's all over the roadmap, Rick. Snakes and ladders, buckle seatbelt, Maverick News, because I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think the best is yet to come. I think there's going to be some more surprises come out of the woodshed. So I think stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
Yeah. 270 electoral votes, I believe, John. 270 in the States. And
again, Rick, a final thought, Maverick News around the world. We all pray for peace around the world, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or Israel, Palestine. We pray for peace. Calmer heads have to come together, and we need peace. We need peace worldwide to keep this world stable. So I pray for everybody.
I agree. And I appreciate you saying that tonight, John.
And Rick, May God bless the United States of America and Canada, and in God we trust.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for calling in tonight. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Pleasure, sir. Okay. Thank you, friend.
Bye for now. And that's John out in Alberta, Canada. Great call. And we are having ongoing issues here. We keep getting kicked off the internet. What was that? 3 times, 4 times there in the last few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and scurry through and wrap this thing up. If you are inclined to support us, again, we really do need your help this time of month in particular. As bills are coming due, you can donate at maverickdonations.com or at freedomreporters.com. And to all those of you who have donated, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the support so much, more than you know. You make a huge difference here because we do not get funding from any other source. It is entirely you guys that keep the lights on here and keep us functioning. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Truly, truly appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Ring the notification bell over on YouTube. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Share, share, share. That would sure help overcome the shadow banning and the algorithm restrictions that they're imposing on us. And I will be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let me just get this banner off the screen there. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. I shall return with our regularly scheduled Maverick News program. Love you guys. See you then on the flip side. Oh, hang on a second. That was anticlimactic, wasn't it? Wrong thing. Let's try this one down here. Too many things to click on. But I've got the right one now. See you tomorrow.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.